Well, first there's a city ordinance that prohibits it, and then also a state statute. In addition to that, then there's university rules and regulations that prohibit the drugs being on campus. So enforcement action could come from either one of the first two laws, and then also if you're a student, you would be sent through the student disciplinary process also. What it comes down to is, with a law enforcement officer, it's been made illegal both by city ordinance and state statute. So it's really irrelevant of what the person's feelings are. It's our job, and we're sworn to uphold those laws. So we'll take appropriate enforcement action. If later on people choose to legalize it, well, then that law will be gone, and we will not be enforcing it anymore. It doesn't really matter, and it should not matter personally to the officers because they're sworn to uphold the law. With time, our officers out there every day are looking for every type of crime that could happen. So you could say that as far as time, it's all the time. As far as direct expenses, obviously with testing, lab work that has to be done, and additional court costs, I mean, it's add up just as it would with alcohol enforcement or other type of crimes. Any trace of it. There's different crimes for over 35 or under 35 grams. Paraphernalia is paraphernalia. In other words, if it's got some type of marijuana residue, that's paraphernalia. Okay. If you can associate it back to drugs, what would be a simple scale that you buy somewhere that's hooked in with drugs, that's paraphernalia. Okay. Zigzag paper and stuff for rolling cigarettes, it can be obviously used to roll regular cigarettes, but if it's in possession with the marijuana, that's paraphernalia. Yeah, if there's some type of marijuana residue in there, or if, for instance, the scales, money, and stuff is associated with the drugs, then that would be part of the case. No, you have to be in possession of it. It's not like there's an alcohol law now that your body can be the vessel holding the alcohol and you can be arrested for minor possession. It does not work that way with marijuana. But if you've ever been around marijuana, yes, it's got a very distinct smell, and plus the redness of the whites of the eyes of the person is not like a bloodshot. It's very different. You can tell right away. Absolutely. No, not necessarily. It all depends on other things. But now if they go to a narcotic smell, there's different ways that they can get into that room, yes. Okay. Well, that's actually through city ordinance here right now. The state statute still prohibits it. But in Boone County, we've agreed with first offenses to go with city ordinance violations unless there's something that makes it more unique. We're not bound by the ordinance. We don't have to just use the ordinance. We could use the state statute instead, but that's been the agreement amongst the prosecutors. So with that, they would be arrested and they could take their doctor's excuse or whatever to court, and it could be decided at that time. We're not going to try to validate it. Well, clearly, if it was legalized, the distribution of marijuana would go away. It wouldn't exist. So that crime would go away. Now, that's not to say that other crimes may not happen. So there's no scientific evidence to support either side. But for sure, possession and distribution, those crimes wouldn't happen anymore because they're now legal. I wouldn't have a venture a guess on that. There's nothing to support either side. Once again, as a police department, we just have to uphold the wishes of the community, and right now those laws are legal, but if they would change later, by all means, that's what we would go forward with. No, not in our department. I've never seen that.
Recreational?
Yes. Okay. People could claim to have an excuse later on. I'm not sure. I have not seen that. No. They would take it to court, and if they could validate it somehow. I've yet to see anyone write a prescription for that. Well, the only additional charge, it would be the same as if you were a non-student, with the exception of you have to go through student disciplinary. So depending on how many times you've committed the offense and how severe it was, they would hand down the action on that. But the only thing different between you being a student and not being a student is simply the student disciplinary process. It could lead to that. That'd be pretty severe. I mean, there would have to be something else going on because there's several marijuana cases that go through, obviously, and we're not kicking that many out of school. It'd either be in the car or the residence halls. You typically don't see people out walking with it, but a lot of times on a traffic stop, it may be found in the vehicle also. We do get calls from residential hall staff to respond and check on narcotic smells. We make a few distribution arrests a year. I mean, it's not an enormous number, but obviously they got way more than they would be consuming simply for recreation. Plus, if it's divided up for sales and those type of things, is how we determine that. We've had a few cases, and there was actually a pretty big case late January, early February. No, we got enough of this. We got enough of this stuff to worry about. Yes. Okay. Clearly, if they come across it, they'll make an arrest for it, but no, it's not an important date to us.